welcome back to another video. I am going to talk about being a writer while having children and how to navigate that. I have some tips that I hope are going to be really helpful for you. Before we get started, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button, and at some point in the video, if you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button and let YouTube know that you liked this video and someone else might too. So before I jump in, let me just share my experience with you. I am a stay-at-home mom, so I do not have the struggle of going out to an office all day or going out to some sort of job and working all day and then coming home and trying to find the energy and time to write. However, I am a stay-at-home mom to 3 little boys. They are just about to turn 4, 7, and 10. So during the summer, obviously they're always here, as well as during the last year and a half, they have always been here. They only went to school for a few short weeks in the middle of the whole craziness. But other than that, they've been here, they've been homeschooling, they've been virtual schooling, we've done it all over the past year and a half. So that's where I'm coming from, and my parenting experience. I have been a writer since I was a child. Obviously that ebbs and flows. A lot of the time that ebbs when you are pregnant and exhausted, or when you have a newborn and are exhausted, or when you have toddlers and are exhausted. I definitely know how that can affect your writing, your creativity, your will to do anything other than just watch Netflix the end of your day. So that's where I'm coming from, and I would like to give you some tips that I think can be really helpful for writing when you have children at home. So number 1 is probably too late for most of you that are watching this video, but I am hoping that it might be helpful for anyone who is about to become a parent, who is quite young and isn't about to become a parent but eventually might. I'm hoping this little tip might catch them in time. So my first tip is to start with healthy sleep habits as soon as your baby arrives. Obviously you can try to implement this at any time, at any age, but it is definitely much more effective the earlier you start. You want to be able to get your baby not sleeping through the night, because that is something that their body has to grow and develop to be able to do. That's not something you can train into them. But getting them on a schedule of napping and having a good amount of sleep at night, even if it's broken up with some feeds. There are lots of things that you can do with your baby or your toddler to get them to have the best sleep possible and give you the best break possible when they are sleeping and napping. So that's my number 1 tip. There are lots of sleep consultants that you could hire. There are lots of books that you could read. There are lots of YouTube videos that you could watch. So if you are struggling a bit with not having any downtime simply because your baby or small child doesn't sleep like ever, there are definitely things you could do to try to remedy that situation that would help you have more time for your writing. So that's number 1. Basically just making sure that your child is sleeping a good amount of hours at night, is napping, and you're getting that downtime to relax, recharge, and maybe brew up some creativity of some sort. My second tip is to then utilize any time that you have available. I know it can often feel better to just relax when your child is sleeping, and in the newborn stages you should absolutely do that. You nap when your baby naps. That is 100% the best advice that you could get. But as they get older, my children, for example, they nap until they turn 4, and then they start school shortly after that. They all have summer birthdays, so they start kindergarten shortly after they turn 4. So they nap until 4 for usually 2 hours, and that was something that was just a habit that we started when they were really little. So those 2 hours are my time to be able to do what I need to do without little people running around and asking me questions and all of that sort of thing. So I definitely utilize that time. Also, when they start preschool, which they start at about 2.5, it's only for like 2 hours a day, but I can also use that 2 hours. So really mapping out your time that you have available and making the most of it is super important, but you also need to listen to your body, and if you need to just rest, you should rest, absolutely. You're not going to be productive and creative if you're exhausted, if you're run down, if you're not feeling well. So if you need to rest, absolutely rest. My third tip is to have a dedicated space that your children, especially older children, know is not a space for them. It's a space for you. It's your working space. It's your Zen space. It's your whatever that may be, where the kids know that if mom or dad or grandma or whoever you are a caregiver as goes into that space, then they're not to be disturbed. Obviously with babies and toddlers, this doesn't work, but as soon as your kids get a little bit older, they can absolutely understand that if you're in that space, then that's your time, and unless someone is crying or bleeding or whatever, that you shouldn't be disturbed in that space. For me, that space is both our master bedroom and our Gotham, which is what we call our gym office. The master bedroom, I find, is so important for kids to understand is a no-go. That's an adult space for many reasons, obviously, but then the office as well is super important. Obviously they know they can come get me if something was wrong and they needed me. Tip number, what are we at, 4? I'm already losing count. Would be to have all of your writing or editing or prepping, whatever you're doing, have all your documents, notes, etc. super organized so that when you sit down to write or edit, you can just get right to it. You're not looking for a document, where did I save that? You're not looking for a page in a notebook that you don't know where it is. Keep your tools organized where they're supposed to be, all saved in the same spot, etc., so that you can just sit down and get to writing and not be frazzled and trying to find things and wasting the little bit of precious time you might have. Tip number 5 is to come up with some activities that your kids might not be allowed to do all the time, but is something that they are allowed to do when you are working. So it'll be a little bit more exciting for them. They'll be happy to leave you alone and do that activity because it's not something they get to do all the time. So for example, my youngest, as I said, he's about to turn 4, so he is still napping 2 hours a day. And during that time, my older 2 get to have their iPad time. So that is something that they only get typically when their brother is sleeping. Obviously, once he stops napping, we'll have to shift the rules and the schedule around. But right now, they only get it when he's sleeping. So not only does it keep them quiet while he's trying to nap, which is obviously very important, but it also keeps them busy while I'm trying to work. So that works out really well. Of course, it doesn't have to be screen time. It can maybe be some special craft that you only pull out once in a while, or some special toy that you only pull out once in a while. Something that's going to keep them busy and happy so that you can get some work done. Tip number 6, I think, is to involve other people in your life that can help you. So if you have a partner at home, even if they work full-time, maybe you can make an arrangement with them that one night a week you get to go out and go to a coffee shop for a couple hours and write, and they take care of the kids for the evening. Or maybe you have some grandparents or aunts and uncles in your lives and you can arrange with them to babysit, you know, one day a month or once a week or whatever they're available to help you with, so that you can have some uninterrupted time where you know that the baby's not going to wake up or the toddler's not going to, you know, get bored of the activity they're doing or that kind of thing. I know not everyone has the luxury of having family around to help babysit, but even if you have another mom friend that you've met, and you could trade off, maybe you watch her child once a week and she watches your child once a week, so that you each get a full day to yourselves. There's lots of different ways that you can arrange some babysitting and to have some time to do what you need to do. Tip number 7 is to utilize kids' activity time. If you have kids that play sports, that are, you know, on the baseball diamond every Thursday night, or you take them to martial arts once a week, or they have a swimming lesson once a week, whatever kind of time that you have that another adult is in charge of your child, use that time. Bring your iPad or your laptop and do some work while they are doing their activity. It may make you feel kind of guilty that you're not watching them and, you know, paying attention to what they're doing 100%. But if you didn't bring your laptop to get some work done, isn't it likely that you'd probably be on your phone scrolling? I know I would be. So I like to take advantage of that time to get some work done if I need to. This is also a really great time to get some reading in if that's also something that you struggle with making time for. I had a really hard time reading probably up until last year when my youngest was about 2. I finally was able to get back into a rhythm of reading, and there are so many moths out here. And I find that activity time is a really great time to be able to work in some reading, especially if you have an audiobook on your phone, because you can just pop one headphone in your ear and listen to your audiobook, and then you can still keep your eyes on your child and be able to be engaged with what they're doing. So that's definitely a time that I like to get work done, or I like to get reading done, and it's great for both of those things. The next tip is to have a writing routine, and I know that may sound completely impossible when you have small children at home, but the better your routine is, even if it's only a routine of writing for 1 hour, 1 day a week, if you set that routine and you get into the habit of it, it'll be so much easier to get everyone else in your life, whether that's your partner or your kids, to also get used to that routine. And then it becomes easier and easier and easier for you to follow that routine and actually get some work done. It'll definitely take a little bit of getting used to for everyone, I'm sure. But if you have a routine and everyone knows, yep, Thursdays at 7 p.m., that's mom's writing time, that's, you know, that's when grandpa goes to the coffee shop and does his writing, then you will have a better chance of actually getting some work done. Tip number 9 is one that's not quite as accessible for everyone, especially with the way the world is right now. But before all this craziness happened, I actually took myself on a weekend writing retreat. And right off the bat, I know that sounds really super expensive, and it absolutely can be if you're doing an actual organized writing retreat by a business or a person or what have you, where you're going somewhere and, you know, it's kind of more like a conference where you're seeing speakers and that sort of thing. That kind of writing retreat can definitely be expensive and completely out of budget for most people, especially people with small children. So what I mean by going on a writing retreat is I actually booked an Airbnb. I think in the States you have VRBO. I just booked a cheapy Airbnb for the weekend, and I went there and just was there by myself. To be honest, I didn't actually get very much writing done because it was the first time I had been alone since I had started dating my husband 10.5 years prior, I want to say, something like that. So I was more so in the mindset of just relaxing and being alone and just doing what I wanted without any responsibilities or without someone else there for me to interact with. But I think if you were able to do this on a more regular basis, like once a year maybe, or even if you don't do a whole weekend, if you just do one night away in a hotel by yourself, and then you can do it like, I don't know, once every 6 months, I think that would be very helpful. And I know that I am itching to go on another writing retreat, and I know that this time I would be better prepared. I would set myself a sort of loose schedule and figure out when I was actually going to do some writing or editing or prepping. so that I would actually accomplish things when I was gone. But writing retreats of any kind can be such a lifesaver for caregivers or parents, because even if you're at home and your baby's sleeping, or your partner is watching the kids for a little while so you can get some work done, there's always things in the back of your mind like, oh, I should switch that load of laundry over. Oh, I should empty the dishwasher first. Oh, what are the kids gonna eat for lunch? Maybe I should prep the food first. You know, there's always all these things going on in the back of your mind that not only are distracting you, but you might actually get up and go do them, and then you're losing out on the time that you have to actually be doing your work. So if you actually go somewhere, a hotel room, an Airbnb, even to a family member's house, and just tell them not to bother you for the day, you know, if you're not in your own home, it's much more likely that you'll get work done. And my final tip, I think this is tip number 10, is to not be so hard on yourself. It is so tough to do anything creative when you are using all your time and energy to look after children. It is so hard. If you are super tired, there's no ability to tap into your creative juices. So you really need to take care of your physical health, take care of your mental health, and just do what you can when you can. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't try to do NaNoWriMo if you're trying to nurse a baby, or if you haven't slept a full night's sleep in a year because your toddler won't sleep through the night. You know, like, these things all affect not only your physical and mental health, but also your creativity. And you don't want to be suffering through your writing when there's more important things that you need to do, like rest and like cuddle your baby and all of these things, right? I think sometimes our society, our modern society, is so focused on the hustle, on working hard, on not just sitting around, on always being productive. If you look here on YouTube for productivity tips, or, you know, like morning routines, night routines, clean my house with me videos, like, everything is about utilizing every minute you have. And you saw that even in this video. I talked about using the time that you have to write. But at the end of the day, being productive just for the sake of being productive, to, you know, to give yourself that badge of honor that you were productive today, that's not going to help anybody. You need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your body, of your mind. And when you are feeling good and you have the time and the energy, the words are going to come. You are going to be able to achieve anything you set your mind to when your mind isn't focused on doing a million other things. So those are my tips for you. I would love to hear if you have any other tips as a parent. I know that working parents have it 100 times harder than I might have as a stay-at-home parent. Especially come September, all my kids are going to school and I'm not going back into the workforce. That is mostly because I'm technically disabled, but I can't work. So I'm home and all of a sudden my kids are going to be in school and I'm going to have all day. So my biggest struggle is going to be setting a routine, making sure that I am getting my writing or editing in, and as well as taking care of my house and taking care of my health and all of these different things. So writing will come in its season, and every year that your children grow is going to totally change your routine. It's going to change the challenges you have in your life, and you just have to try and adapt and just not be so hard on yourself, because the writing will come when it comes. I hope these tips were helpful for you. And if you have any more tips for writing as a parent or caregiver, I would love to hear them, and I'm sure everyone else would too. Please leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next week. Bye guys.